Have you ever been denied something you earned, not because of a mistake, but because of who you are? Have you ever felt the sting of being overlooked, dismissed, or pushed aside in a place where respect should be automatic? This is a story about a black woman who reached the highest levels of success, only to face a moment that challenged everything she stood for on a flight that was supposed to be a brief escape, but instead became a battleground for dignity. Jada Sinclair is not just any passenger. She is the CEO of Horizon Innovate, a leading technology company transforming renewable energy. Her name is known in boardrooms across the country, a symbol of determination and excellence. She has shattered ceilings and opened doors for countless black women who aspire to lead. Yet, on a crisp morning as she prepared to board a transatlantic flight from Washington, D.C. to London, Jada was about to encounter a challenge that no title or achievement could shield her from. The airport buzzed with the usual rush of travelers, but for Jada, this day carried a weight beyond the ordinary. She was dressed sharply in a tailored navy suit, carrying the quiet confidence of someone who had fought hard for every inch of her success. Her first-class ticket was more than a seat on a plane. It was a recognition of her status, a small but meaningful reward for years of relentless work. She looked forward to the comfort and calm that first class promised, a chance to prepare for an important summit where she would present groundbreaking ideas on global sustainability. Yet, beneath her composed exterior, there was a familiar unease. Jada had faced subtle dismissals and microaggressions throughout her career, moments that chipped away at her spirit but never broke her resolve. She knew that sometimes the battle for respect was fought in the smallest spaces, in the quiet refusals and the sideways glances. Today, that battle was about to take place in the cabin of Flight 478. As she approached the first-class check-in counter, her boarding pass in hand, Jada felt a mix of anticipation and calm. The attendant processed her ticket with a polite nod, and she moved toward the gate, ready to settle into her seat. The first-class cabin was a sanctuary of luxury, a place where she could gather her thoughts and prepare for the days ahead. But the moment she stepped onto the plane, something felt off. Her reserved seat, clearly marked and confirmed days in advance, was occupied. Not by mistake, but by a group of passengers who seemed to have been given priority over her. When she politely asked the flight attendant about the situation, she was met with a cold response. She was being asked to move to Economy Plus. The explanation was vague, the tone dismissive, as if her presence in first class was negotiable. Jada's heart tightened. This was not just about a seat. It was about recognition, respect, and the right to claim what she had earned. The flight attendant's refusal to acknowledge her status was a sharp reminder of the barriers that still exist, even for those who have climbed to the top. Around her, other passengers noticed the tension, some exchanging uneasy looks, others pretending not to see. In that moment, Jada faced a choice: accept the slight quietly or stand firm and demand the respect she deserved. Her decision would not only affect her own journey, but would soon ripple far beyond the walls of the airplane. This story is about more than one flight or one seat. It is about the ongoing struggle for equality and the courage it takes to confront injustice head-on. It is about how one woman's refusal to be sidelined sparked a chain of events that challenged an entire industry and inspired a movement. Stay with me as we explore the moments that led to a powerful reckoning, moments that remind us all why standing up matters, even when the odds seem stacked against us. Jada Sinclair arrived at the airport early, as she always did before important trips. The morning air was crisp, carrying the faint hum of activity that filled the terminal. She moved with purpose, her step steady and confident, reflecting years of experience navigating high-pressure environments. Her tailored navy suit was impeccable, a symbol of the professionalism she carried like armor. In her hand, a sleek leather briefcase held documents critical to the summit she was about to attend. This was not just another flight. It was a step toward shaping the future of renewable energy on a global stage. The airport was a sea of faces, each traveler wrapped in their own stories and destinations. Yet, Jada's focus remained sharp. She had learned to tune out distractions, to keep her eyes on the goal. The first-class lounge awaited her, a space designed to offer comfort and calm, a stark contrast to the bustling terminal outside. It was a place where she could recharge, review her notes, and prepare mentally for the challenges ahead. As she approached the first-class check-in counter, the atmosphere shifted. The polished marble floors, the soft hum of quiet conversations, and the attentive staff created an environment that promised ease and respect. Jada exchanged a brief nod with the attendant, who scanned her boarding pass with practiced efficiency. The pass bore her name and status clearly, a testament to her achievements and the recognition she had earned. Yet, beneath the surface of this polished experience, a subtle tension lingered. Jada was no stranger to the quiet dismissals that often accompanied her presence in spaces where she was one of the few black women. These moments were rarely loud or overt. Instead, they came in the form of sidelong glances, delayed responses, or the faintest hesitation in service. Today, she hoped, would be different. Boarding for Flight 478 was announced, and Jada joined the line for first-class passengers. The cabin promised a refuge from the noise and chaos of travel, a place where she could settle into a plush seat, surrounded by attentive service and thoughtful amenities. The seats were designed for comfort, with ample space and soft lighting that encouraged relaxation. It was a world apart from the crowded economy section, where passengers jostled for space and privacy was a luxury. As she stepped onto the plane, Jada felt a brief sense of relief. This was her space, her moment to breathe before the long journey ahead. She made her way to her assigned seat by the window, placing her briefcase carefully in the overhead compartment. The quiet murmur of other first-class passengers filled the cabin, punctuated by the soft footsteps of flight attendants preparing for takeoff. But the calm was short-lived. A few moments after settling in, Jada noticed a group of passengers occupying seats that were clearly marked as premium. Their presence was unexpected, and a flicker of confusion crossed her mind. When she looked around, she realized her own seat was no longer empty. Instead, it was taken by someone else. She called over a flight attendant, her voice steady but firm. "Excuse me, I believe this is my seat," she said, gesturing to the clearly marked number. The attendant's response was curt. "There's been a change in seating assignments," he said, avoiding eye contact. "You'll need to move to Economy Plus." Jada's heart sank. The explanation was vague, the tone dismissive. It was as if her presence in first class was negotiable, something to be adjusted on a whim. She glanced around, noticing the subtle shifts in the cabin's energy. Some passengers looked away, uncomfortable with the situation. Others whispered quietly, unsure how to react. The attendant's body language spoke volumes. His shoulders were stiff, his eyes flicking away as if reluctant to engage further. There was no apology, no attempt to explain the reason behind the change. It was a dismissal wrapped in bureaucracy. Jada's mind raced. She had encountered moments like this before. Times when her competence or status was questioned, not openly, but through actions that spoke louder than words. This was a reminder that no matter how far she had come, the fight for respect was ongoing. She requested to speak with the flight manager, hoping for clarity and fairness. The manager, a man named Donovan, approached with a professional demeanor that barely concealed his surprise at the situation. Jada calmly explained her reservation and the importance of her first-class seat. Despite her composed tone, the tension in the cabin grew. Passengers watched as the exchange unfolded, some nodding in silent support, others shifting uncomfortably in their seats. The flight attendants maintained their distance, their expressions unreadable. Jada discreetly began recording the interaction on her phone. She knew that documentation was a powerful tool, one that could protect her and shine a light on the treatment she was receiving. This was not just about a seat. It was about standing up against a pattern of disregard. The minutes stretched on, with no resolution in sight. The flight crew's refusal to acknowledge the validity of her reservation was a stark contrast to the respect she had earned through years of leadership. The atmosphere in the cabin was thick with unspoken questions and quiet frustration. Jada's resolve did not waver. She remained poised, her voice steady as she insisted on her rights. Around her, the cabin's energy shifted from polite indifference to a growing awareness of the injustice taking place. This was more than a personal affront. It was a moment that exposed the lingering biases embedded in systems that should have evolved beyond such treatment. For Jada, it was a call to action, a reminder that progress requires vigilance and courage. As the plane prepared for departure, the unresolved seating issue hung in the air like a challenge. The stage was set for a confrontation that would test not only Jada's strength, but also the airline's commitment to fairness and respect. Jada Sinclair settled into her assigned seat, the window beside her offering a quiet view of the airport runway. She pulled out her notes, intent on reviewing her presentation for the upcoming summit. The hum of the plane's engines was a familiar comfort, a steady rhythm that helped her focus. This flight was supposed to be a moment of calm before the storm of meetings and negotiations ahead. Her calm was interrupted when a flight attendant approached, his expression unreadable. "Madam, I'm sorry, but you'll need to move to Economy Plus," he said, his voice clipped and lacking warmth. Jada looked up, her eyes steady and unwavering. "There must be a mistake. This seat is assigned to me," she replied, holding up her boarding pass. The seat number was clear, matching the one she occupied. The attendant's gaze flicked away, avoiding direct eye contact. "There's been a change in our seating policy. We're upgrading some passengers and reallocating seats accordingly," he explained, as if reciting a rehearsed line. Jada's heart tightened, but her voice remained calm and measured. "I understand policies can change, but my reservation was confirmed days ago. I expect to be honored as a first-class passenger." The attendant shrugged, a gesture that spoke volumes. "I'm just following orders, ma'am." Before she could respond, another crew member stepped forward. His name tag read Gregory. His tone was softer but carried an unmistakable edge of condescension. "We have protocols in place, Madam Sinclair. Please comply with the instructions given." Jada's eyes narrowed slightly. "Protocols should not override fairness or respect. I am requesting to speak with the flight manager." Gregory's lips pressed into a thin line. "The manager is aware of the situation. We ask for your cooperation." The cabin's atmosphere shifted. Passengers nearby began to take notice, their eyes flicking between Jada and the crew. Some whispered quietly. Others exchanged glances that conveyed discomfort or sympathy. The tension was rising, though the flight attendants maintained a professional distance. Jada reached for her phone, discreetly starting to record the interaction. She knew the power of evidence, especially when facing dismissive attitudes that could easily be denied later. The camera captured the clipped tones, the evasive glances, and the subtle dismissals. The flight manager, Donovan, soon arrived. His presence brought a brief pause to the exchange. He was a man in his mid-40s, with a demeanor that suggested experience but also a hint of unease. "Madam Sinclair," he began, "I understand there's a concern about your seating. Let me review the situation." Jada handed him her boarding pass. Donovan scanned it quickly, then looked up. "There appears to have been an administrative oversight," he said carefully. "We're working to resolve it." Jada's voice was steady but firm. "An oversight is understandable, but the way it's being handled is not. I expect to be treated with the respect my status warrants." Donovan nodded, but his expression remained guarded. "We appreciate your patience. Please bear with us." The minutes stretched on, with no clear resolution. Jada's calm exterior masked the frustration building inside. She had faced challenges before, but this felt different, more public, more personal. Passengers around her were now fully engaged. A middle-aged woman whispered, "I can't believe they're treating her like this." A young man shook his head, muttering, "This isn't right." Jada caught their eyes briefly, offering a small, appreciative nod. She was not alone in this moment. Gregory returned, his tone sharper. "Madam Sinclair, we need you to move to Economy Plus now." Jada stood, her posture straight and unyielding. "No, I will not move until this is properly addressed." The cabin grew quieter, the usual background noise replaced by a collective breath held in anticipation. A passenger near the front spoke up softly. "She's right. This isn't how anyone should be treated." The flight attendants exchanged looks, their earlier confidence wavering. The power dynamic was shifting. Jada's phone continued to record, capturing every word and gesture. She knew this moment was bigger than herself. It was about standing against a system that too often dismissed black excellence. The flight manager returned, this time with a more conciliatory tone. "Madam Sinclair, I assure you we are taking this seriously. Please allow us a moment to find a solution." Jada nodded slowly, her resolve intact. "Thank you. I expect transparency and respect." As the crew moved to address the issue, whispers of support grew louder among the passengers. Some pulled out their phones, ready to document or share the unfolding scene. Jada's decision to record was not just for her protection, it was a statement. In a world where stories of discrimination are often questioned or ignored, evidence becomes a powerful tool for justice. The flight attendant's dismissive behavior had ignited a quiet but growing resistance within the cabin. Passengers who might have remained silent were now witnesses, their awareness heightened. Jada's calm but firm stance challenged the crew's authority, exposing the gap between policy and principle. The incident was no longer a private dispute, it had become a public reckoning. As the plane prepared for departure, the unresolved seating issue remained a symbol of the broader struggle for equality. Jada's courage in that moment would soon resonate far beyond the confines of Flight 478. Jada's mind raced as she sat in the seat that was no longer hers. The plush leather beneath her was meant to be a symbol of comfort and status, but now it felt like a reminder of exclusion. She glanced around the cabin, noting the subtle shifts in the atmosphere. The murmurs of other passengers grew louder, their eyes reflecting a mix of sympathy and disbelief. She thought back to the countless times she had been underestimated, dismissed, or overlooked. Each moment had left a mark, but none had prepared her for this public display of disregard. The flight attendant's refusal to acknowledge her rightful place was a stark reminder that no amount of success could fully shield her from prejudice. Her voice remained steady as she addressed the crew, but inside, a fire burned. This was not just about a seat. It was about the principle of respect and recognition. She was determined to stand firm, not only for herself, but for every person who had ever been made to feel less than. The flight manager's arrival brought a flicker of hope, but his words felt rehearsed, lacking genuine concern. Jada's request for transparency was met with vague promises and polite deflections. The crew's unwillingness to take immediate responsibility only deepened the sense of injustice. Around her, passengers began to take sides. Some whispered words of encouragement, while others quietly recorded the scene. The power of social media was already at work, turning a personal affront into a public issue. Jada's phone captured every moment, the clipped tones, the dismissive gestures, the growing tension. She knew that this evidence could not be ignored. It was a shield against denial and a beacon for accountability. As the plane prepared to taxi, the unresolved conflict hung in the air. Jada's refusal to move was a quiet act of defiance, a stand against a system that too often allowed bias to go unchecked. The cabin was no longer just a space for travel. It had become a stage for a larger conversation about equality, respect, and the power of one voice to challenge the status quo. The moment Jada Sinclair's phone captured the tense exchange between her and the flight crew, she knew the story was bigger than just one flight. The video, recorded discreetly but clearly, showed the dismissive attitudes, the refusal to honor her rightful seat, and the growing tension in the cabin. Once uploaded to social media, it spread rapidly, igniting a wave of reactions that no one could have anticipated. Within hours, the clip was shared thousands of times. Comments poured in from all corners, people expressing shock, anger, and solidarity. Many recognized the experience as one they or someone they loved had faced, a painful reminder of the barriers that persist even in spaces meant to offer comfort and respect. Hashtags calling for justice and accountability trended, turning Jada's personal ordeal into a public conversation about racial bias and corporate responsibility. The video's reach extended beyond social media users. Influential voices, activists, civil rights leaders, and public figures joined the chorus demanding answers. They praised Jada's courage for standing firm and called on the airline to take swift and meaningful action. The incident became a symbol of the ongoing struggle against discrimination, sparking debates on news outlets and talk shows nationwide. Faced with mounting pressure, the airline's corporate headquarters moved quickly to respond. An official statement acknowledged the incident, expressing regret for the distress caused and promising a thorough investigation. The airline emphasized its commitment to equality and respect for all passengers, but the public remained skeptical. Many saw the statement as a standard corporate response, lacking the urgency the situation demanded. Inside the airline, executives convened emergency meetings. The viral video had exposed a failure not just of individual staff members, but of the company's culture and training. The pressure to act decisively was immense. Behind closed doors, discussions centered on damage control and restoring public trust. Meanwhile, back on the plane, the atmosphere among passengers had shifted dramatically. What began as a quiet discomfort had transformed into open support for Jada. Several passengers approached her with words of encouragement, expressing admiration for her composure and determination. A middle-aged man, his voice thick with emotion, said, "Thank you for standing up. We've all been waiting for someone to do this." Jada absorbed the support quietly, drawing strength from the solidarity around her. The emotional toll of the incident was heavy, but the kindness of strangers reminded her she was not alone. She reflected on the power of community and the importance of turning personal pain into collective action. As the flight landed, the story was already dominating headlines. Reporters awaited at the gate, eager to capture Jada's response and the airline's next steps. The incident had become a defining moment, not just for her, but for the broader conversation about race, respect, and accountability in service industries. Despite the exhaustion from the ordeal, Jada remained composed. She understood that her role had shifted from a passenger seeking justice to a public figure representing a larger cause. Her words in interviews were measured but passionate, emphasizing the need for systemic change and the courage to confront injustice wherever it appears. The airline's initial response was soon followed by more concrete actions. Within 48 hours, internal memos leaked indicating that the entire flight crew involved in the incident had been suspended pending investigation. This unprecedented move signaled the seriousness with which the company was treating the matter. Public reaction to the suspensions was mixed. Some praised the airline for taking swift action, while others questioned whether firing the crew was enough to address deeper issues. Advocates called for comprehensive reforms, including mandatory anti-bias training and transparent complaint processes. Jada's experience sparked a broader dialogue about the challenges Black professionals face, even at the highest levels. Her story resonated with many who had endured similar indignities, often in silence. It became a rallying point for those demanding respect and equality in all areas of life. Throughout the aftermath, Jada remained focused on her mission. She used her platform to highlight the importance of resilience and the power of standing up for one's rights. Her message was clear. Change requires courage, persistence, and the willingness to speak out. The support from the public and fellow professionals reinforced her resolve. Messages of encouragement flooded in from across industries, reminding her that her fight was part of a larger movement toward justice. As the days passed, the airline announced plans to overhaul its training programs and implement new policies aimed at preventing similar incidents. These commitments were welcomed but met with cautious optimism. Many recognized that true change would require sustained effort and accountability at every level. Jada's story continued to inspire conversations in boardrooms, classrooms, and community centers. It became a case study in leadership, courage, and the ongoing struggle for equality. Her experience on Flight 478 was no longer just a personal narrative. It was a catalyst for reflection and reform. In the quiet moments after the media frenzy, Jada took time to process the whirlwind. The incident had tested her in ways she hadn't anticipated, but it had also reaffirmed her purpose. She was determined to transform this painful chapter into a source of empowerment for others. The viral outcry and immediate aftermath demonstrated the power of one voice to spark change. Jada's refusal to accept injustice, combined with the support of a community unwilling to stay silent, had forced a reckoning. It was a reminder that progress often begins with standing firm in the face of adversity. The airline's response to the viral incident was swift and decisive. Within hours of the video gaining widespread attention, the company announced the immediate termination of the entire flight crew involved in the seating dispute. This move was unprecedented. Never before had an airline taken such rapid and comprehensive action in response to a single passenger complaint, especially one that exposed issues of racial bias and disrespect. The decision sent shockwaves through the aviation industry and beyond. Media outlets quickly picked up the story, framing it as a landmark moment in corporate accountability. Headlines highlighted the airline's rare willingness to hold its employees responsible for discriminatory behavior, setting a new standard for how companies might address similar incidents in the future. News anchors and commentators debated the implications. Some praised the airline for its bold stance, viewing the firings as a necessary step toward rebuilding trust with passengers and demonstrating a commitment to equality. Others questioned whether the action was more about public relations than genuine reform, urging the company to implement lasting changes rather than quick fixes. Social media remained abuzz with discussions about the broader issues the incident had brought to light. Advocates for racial justice pointed to the firings as a victory but emphasized that true progress required systemic change. The conversation expanded beyond the airline, touching on how institutions across industries must confront implicit biases and create environments where respect is non-negotiable. For Jada Sinclair, the airline's decision was a bittersweet moment. On one hand, it was a clear acknowledgement that the treatment she endured was unacceptable and that accountability was possible. The firing sent a powerful message that discriminatory behavior would not be tolerated, no matter the setting or the individuals involved. On the other hand, the emotional toll of the incident lingered. The public victory did not erase the humiliation she had felt or the exhaustion from reliving the experience in interviews and public appearances. Jada reflected on the personal cost of standing up, not just the immediate discomfort, but the ongoing burden of being a symbol in a larger fight. In private moments, she grappled with the complexity of her role. She was both a leader and a target, celebrated for her courage yet reminded daily of the barriers that remained. The incident on Flight 478 had thrust her into the spotlight, but it also underscored the loneliness that can accompany such visibility. Despite these challenges, Jada remained resolute. The firings were not the end of the story, but a beginning, a catalyst for deeper conversations and meaningful change. She used the moment to call for comprehensive reforms within the airline and across industries, advocating for mandatory training on bias and respectful service. Her public statements emphasized the need for organizations to move beyond reactive measures and embrace proactive strategies that foster inclusion and equity. Jada's voice carried the weight of experience and the hope for a future where no one would face the indignity she had endured. The media coverage also highlighted the significance of the airline's action in a broader context. Experts noted that the firings challenged the often slow and reluctant responses companies have historically shown when confronted with discrimination claims. This case demonstrated that public pressure, combined with clear evidence, could compel organizations to act swiftly and decisively. Industry leaders began to take notice. Conferences and panels featured discussions about the Flight 478 incident as a turning point, exploring how businesses could implement policies that prevent similar situations. The airline's move was cited as a benchmark for accountability, inspiring other companies to reevaluate their approaches to customer service and employee conduct. For many, the firings represented a rare moment of justice in a landscape where such outcomes are often elusive. It was a reminder that change is possible when individuals refuse to accept injustice and when communities rally to support them. Jada's reflections on the victory were grounded in both pride and realism. She celebrated the tangible outcome but remained aware that one incident could not dismantle deeply rooted biases overnight. Her focus shifted to sustaining momentum, ensuring that the conversation did not fade once the headlines moved on. She continued to engage with advocacy groups, corporate leaders, and policymakers, sharing her story as a case study in resilience and the power of accountability. Jada's experience became a teaching moment, illustrating the importance of documentation, courage, and community support in confronting discrimination. The emotional cost of the incident was undeniable, but so was the strength it revealed. Jada's journey highlighted the dual realities many Black professionals face: achieving success while navigating persistent challenges. Her story resonated because it was both personal and universal, a testament to the ongoing struggle for dignity and respect. As the airline moved forward with promises of reform, Jada remained vigilant. She knew that true change required more than firings. It demanded a cultural shift that valued every individual's humanity. Her commitment to this mission was unwavering, fueled by the belief that leadership is measured not only by personal achievement, but by the ability to create spaces where others can thrive. The Flight 478 incident, with all its pain and triumph, had become a defining chapter in Jada Sinclair's life. It was a moment that tested her resolve and amplified her voice. Through it all, she emerged not just as a victim of injustice, but as a catalyst for transformation. Someone who turned adversity into a call for lasting change. Jada Sinclair's experience on Flight 478 quickly transcended the confines of a single incident, sparking conversations that rippled throughout the airline industry and beyond. Her courage in confronting discrimination became a catalyst for a broader examination of racial bias in service environments, prompting leaders and organizations to reflect on their own practices and policies. In the weeks following the incident, Jada was invited to participate in numerous industry forums and panels focused on diversity, equity, and inclusion. Her firsthand account provided a powerful lens through which to view the challenges Black professionals face, even in spaces designed to offer premium service. She spoke candidly about the subtle and overt ways bias manifests, emphasizing the need for systemic change rather than isolated fixes. Her voice resonated with audiences ranging from corporate executives to frontline employees, bridging gaps in understanding and fostering empathy. Jada's message was clear: addressing racial bias requires intentional effort at every level of an organization, from training programs to leadership accountability. In response to the public outcry and Jada's advocacy, several airlines announced comprehensive reviews of their customer service protocols. These reviews led to the implementation of mandatory anti-bias training for all staff, designed to equip employees with the skills to recognize and counteract discriminatory behaviors. The training emphasized respect, empathy, and the importance of upholding the dignity of every passenger. Regulatory bodies also took notice. Aviation authorities initiated audits of airline practices, focusing on how companies handle complaints related to discrimination and service inequities. These audits aim to ensure compliance with existing laws and to encourage the adoption of best practices that promote fairness and inclusivity. Jada's influence extended beyond the airline industry. Her story became a reference point in discussions about workplace equity across various sectors, highlighting the pervasive nature of bias and the urgent need for cultural transformation. Organizations began to reevaluate their own policies, inspired by the example set by the airline's response and Jada's leadership. Recognizing the importance of mentorship and empowerment, Jada launched the Ascend program through her company, Horizon Innovate. This initiative was designed to support Black women aspiring to leadership roles by providing scholarships, workshops, and direct mentorship from established professionals. The program aimed to equip participants with the tools, confidence, and networks necessary to navigate and succeed in challenging environments. Ascend quickly gained traction, attracting participants from diverse industries eager to learn from Jada's experience and guidance. The program emphasized not only professional development, but also the cultivation of resilience and self-advocacy. Jada believed that empowering the next generation of leaders was essential to breaking cycles of exclusion and creating lasting change. Her public speaking engagements became a platform to amplify these themes. At conferences, universities, and community events, Jada shared her journey with honesty and passion. She challenged audiences to confront uncomfortable truths and to commit to actions that foster equity and respect. Jada's approach combined personal narrative with practical solutions, inspiring individuals and organizations to take meaningful steps toward inclusion. Her emphasis on accountability and continuous learning resonated deeply, encouraging a shift from performative gestures to genuine transformation. The impact of Jada's advocacy was evident in the growing number of companies adopting similar mentorship and training programs. Her leadership served as a blueprint for how personal experience, when combined with strategic action, can drive systemic change. Throughout this period, Jada remained grounded in her mission. She understood that progress would require sustained effort and collaboration. The Ascend program was just one part of a larger movement to dismantle barriers and create opportunities for Black women and other marginalized groups. Jada's story also inspired grassroots initiatives and community organizations to intensify their efforts. Town halls, workshops, and advocacy campaigns emerged, fueled by the momentum generated by Flight 478. These efforts aimed to hold institutions accountable and to ensure that policies translated into real-world improvements. In boardrooms and policy discussions, Jada's experience was cited as evidence of the urgent need for change. Her insistence on transparency and respect challenged leaders to move beyond rhetoric and to implement measurable actions. The airline involved in the incident continued to evolve its practices, guided in part by feedback from Jada and other advocates. New policies emphasized customer dignity and empowered employees to act with integrity and fairness. These changes reflected a growing recognition that inclusivity is not just a moral imperative but a business necessity. Jada's role as a mentor and advocate expanded as she connected with emerging leaders facing similar challenges. She provided guidance on navigating systemic obstacles and encouraged them to use their voices to effect change. Her commitment to lifting others underscored the collective nature of the struggle for equity. The broader impact of Flight 478 and Jada's response demonstrated how individual courage can ignite widespread transformation. Her story became a beacon for those seeking to challenge injustice and to build more inclusive environments. As the movement gained strength, Jada remained a steadfast leader, balancing public advocacy with the demands of her corporate role. Her ability to translate personal experience into strategic action set her apart as a powerful force for change. The legacy of Flight 478 was no longer confined to a single flight or airline. It had become a symbol of possibility. A reminder that confronting bias head-on can lead to meaningful progress. Jada's journey illustrated the importance of resilience, leadership, and community in the ongoing fight for equality. Through her advocacy and the Ascend program, she helped pave the way for a future where Black women and other marginalized individuals could thrive without compromise. In the quiet moments after the storm of Flight 478 had passed, Jada Sinclair found herself reflecting deeply on the journey she had traveled. Not just the physical miles between cities, but the emotional and psychological path that had brought her to this point. The incident on the plane was more than a public confrontation. It was a mirror reflecting years of resilience, vulnerability, and unwavering purpose. Jada had always carried the weight of expectations, both from others and herself. As a Black woman leading a major corporation, she navigated spaces where her presence was often questioned or minimized. The microaggressions she faced were subtle yet persistent, small dismissals, overlooked contributions, and moments when her authority was quietly challenged. These experiences, while painful, had shaped her strength and sharpened her resolve. The Flight 478 incident crystallized these ongoing struggles. It was a stark reminder that no matter how much progress is made, the fight against bias and inequality is far from over. Yet, it also revealed the power of standing firm in one's truth. Jada's calm but determined response was a testament to the strength that comes from embracing vulnerability and using it as a source of courage. In the days and weeks that followed, Jada allowed herself moments of quiet reflection. She acknowledged the emotional toll, the exhaustion, the frustration, and the moments of doubt. But she also recognized the growth that emerged from these challenges. Her experience had deepened her empathy and reinforced her commitment to creating spaces where others would not have to endure the same indignities. Jada's vision for the future was clear and compelling. She believed in a world where leadership was defined not by exclusion but by inclusion, where success was measured not only by personal achievement but by the ability to uplift others. Her philosophy centered on the idea that true leadership requires both strength and compassion, a willingness to confront injustice while nurturing growth and connection. This vision informed every aspect of her work, from corporate strategy to community engagement. Through the Ascend program and her public advocacy, Jada sought to build a legacy that extended beyond her own accomplishments. She aimed to empower Black women and other marginalized individuals to claim their rightful places in leadership, equipped with the tools and support needed to thrive. Jada often spoke about the importance of resilience, not as a solitary battle but as a collective journey. She emphasized that resilience is not about enduring hardship alone, but about finding strength in community and shared purpose. Her story became a beacon for those navigating similar challenges, offering hope and a roadmap for transformation. In interviews and speeches, Jada shared candid insights about the complexities of her experience. She acknowledged the pain of discrimination but refused to be defined by it. Instead, she framed her journey as one of empowerment, highlighting the ways adversity can fuel determination and inspire change. Her message resonated widely, touching individuals across industries and backgrounds. Many saw in Jada's story a reflection of their own struggles and aspirations. Her ability to articulate the intersection of personal vulnerability and professional strength made her a compelling and relatable leader. Jada's reflections also extended to the broader societal context. She recognized that systemic bias is deeply entrenched and requires sustained effort to dismantle. Her advocacy called for ongoing education, policy reform, and cultural shifts that prioritize equity and respect. She challenged organizations to move beyond surface-level diversity initiatives and to commit to meaningful inclusion. For Jada, this meant creating environments where every individual feels seen, heard, and valued, not as an exception but as the norm. As she looked ahead, Jada remained hopeful. She believed that change is possible when individuals and institutions embrace accountability and act with intention. Her experience on Flight 478 was a powerful example of how courage and community can drive progress. Jada's legacy is one of transformation. She turned a moment of personal injustice into a catalyst for systemic reform and empowerment. Her journey illustrates the ongoing struggle for equality and the vital role of leadership in shaping a more just future. In closing, Jada often reminded others that resilience is a choice, a daily commitment to rise above challenges and to use one's voice for good. Her story encourages us all to confront injustice with strength and grace, knowing that every act of courage contributes to a larger movement toward change. Through her leadership, advocacy, and mentorship, Jada Sinclair continues to inspire a new generation to envision and create a world where dignity and respect are universal. Her journey is a testament to the power of perseverance and the enduring hope that drives us toward a better tomorrow. If Jada's story has moved you, consider subscribing and joining the community. Together, we can celebrate resilience, challenge prejudice, and inspire the next generation to rise above doubt and claim their place.